Hey guys, Joel here, coming to you from Cape Chignecto on the Bay of Fundy in Nova Scotia. I'm here visiting my grandparents. I was born in Nova Scotia actually, and my grandparents have lived here their whole lives. And they're such sweet, quiet people, and it's good to see them. I haven't seen them since 5 years ago, before COVID. So great to see them, doing a little trip out here. And I was walking on this beach with my friend Tom, who's on the camera. And it started to rain a little, and I was just talking to Tom about how I feel like I've wasted so much of my life worrying about getting wet, worrying about the rain. And you know, when it rains, you're like, gotta get inside, gotta get under cover. But it's like, what's the worst that happens? You get wet, you dry off. And thinking about that in grander terms, I'm like, that applies so beautifully to art and putting yourself out there. It's like, why not do it? Because the worst that happens is you get wet and you get over it, and the next day you're dry like it never happened. And recently I put out my first music album. I've been doing music, and I did a full album, big long 17-song album, and it's just me on my piano. And I'm not the most technically proficient piano player or singer, but I figured my philosophy on art and filmmaking has always been, you know, when you're first going, when you're first doing stuff, let it be rough, let it be raw, let it be imperfect, let it be strange, because that's what you're going to do so well before you get a handle on everything. And I felt like this album was a beautiful chance to just like say fuck it to being perfect and polished, and instead just letting myself get a little wet. And I've seen many comments saying it's bad, and I've seen comments saying like, oh, I don't know how to play or don't know how to sing, as if that's not the point, as if I'm trying to be some aficionado, as if I'm trying to be some maestro on the keys. I'm not. And I think that applies so well to filmmaking as well, and things I've talked about many times. Is don't be afraid to get wet. Put yourself out there. Be scared and then do it anyway. Be fearful of what people might think, and then realize you'll get over it. These same comments that are bothering me this week about my album, I'm not going to think about in 5 years when I have a number of albums and I look fondly back on the first one. I'm like, I'm so glad I let that first album be what it was, because it was so raw and so me in that moment in a way that I'd have to force otherwise. Because when and if I get better at music and get more elaborate with my production, you know, it might be hard to pull back to this point of rawness. And it's something that I see in my early films. When I look back at like my films I did in high school or college, there's a rawness to them, an imperfection to them. Like my high school films make me crack up because they're so bad, and there's some of them on the channel, so bad in the traditional sense, bad in how films are supposed to be. They're supposed to be polished and intelligible. They're supposed to be smart or thought out, and our films in high school were dumber than the dumbest videos I'm making today, and I make some pretty dumb videos. And I don't think I could recapture that. And it's so good to have that freeze frame in time, that freeze frame where I didn't care and I just ran out guns ablaze and got over it because I wasn't even worried about it. And I hope to be less worried about doing that now, and sometimes I still do get worried. Putting out my album, I am worried. Like it was a vulnerable moment because I'm like, people will not take to this because it's not an accessible album. It's not what people are used to hearing. You know, when YouTubers become musicians, they usually go the very produced like hip hop angle or the very produced like indie sort of angle. And I was just doing weird songs on my piano, and doing them live really gave me a great backing to how confident I am in them, because they play so well live. And my 2 live shows I did in June and July were such an amazing experience, because I just felt like I was putting myself out there, and the people who showed up received it so warmly and openly. And that's a really beautiful thing to see as well. So the thought at the end is, you'll get over the criticism, you'll get over the mean comments, you'll get over getting soaking wet with all this doubt. And at the end of the day, you'll be glad you did it, because it'll make you, even if you don't grow, if you don't look back at it as a step that really marks a fundamental change, if it was just something you tried and then you never tried again, you got wet and you got over it. So thanks for listening. I love you guys. I hope you have a great day, week, month, and I'll see you next time. Bye-bye. I love movies. Bye.